What's up? What's happening? Welcome in. It's the Hoffman Show on a Friday here on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Greg Hoffman. He's Anthony Haney, super producer of the program. Anthony, I went to bed with like a minute left in the game last night. So you ready to talk about this Thunder win?
You went to bed with a minute left to go in what game?
The NBA Finals game. So you ready to talk about this?
I am ready to talk about the game. This
Thunder win? How OKC went up game one?
Oh, yeah, you missed it then, sir.
I've been on the internet all day. Something happened?
Tyrese Halliburton happened again.
It can't happen again. Statistically impossible. They've already broken every record of like coming back. You know why no one's taking me seriously? Why everyone knows that I'm lying right now and I know exactly what happened in this game?
Why?
Because I obviously went to bed way before 1 second left in regulation last night. Let's be real.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, mid-third quarter. See ya. I'm out. We'll watch the rest in the morning. And boy, was I surprised when I wake up this morning and see, look at the reactions as the Pacers storm back to steal game one. Got to see Tyrese Halliburton. I'm like, again? They did it again? Sure did. There's all these numbers about the histories of teams in this situation were 120, had won 120 straight games, and now it's 1 in 120. It's just, how do they keep doing this? They're taking the win probability stuff is so funny to me because everyone freaks out when a team that has a 99% chance of losing wins. And it's like, well, yeah, it didn't say 100, it said 99%. So this is the one. How many times in these playoffs have the Pacers been the one? Like this does seem to be saying there might be a problem with the model. Like this is absolutely ridiculous what this team is doing. But the thing is, it's because they keep doing that that allows them to keep doing it. Their belief is so incredibly high. They never give up. They are a team because of the pace they play, the intensity that they bring does wear on you. And so for 4 quarters, Richard Jefferson was kind of a broken record at times about certain things last night, but he wasn't wrong about them. Indiana needing to slow down just a little bit to kind of regain control. And there's another change they made in the second half that we can talk about stylistically. But I think on a bigger picture, the thing that he kept saying that I really thought was true is this is a 48-minute team. And Indiana in that game last night was tied for about a minute and a half, trailed for 46 minutes and 23 seconds, and led for 0.3 seconds in the entire game. It was the final 0.3, and thus the Pacers, against all odds, are up 1-0 in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, it truly just makes it's crazy to think, how they continue to do this. I think the game I was at yesterday in terms of the Mystics, how it looked like we were going to storm back, and then, one bad turnover caused us to, lose by more than, a couple of possessions.
And by the way, Indiana had that turnover. They had it. It was I watched the first two, I missed obviously the first quarter because I was also at the Mystics game. We wound up leaving that game a little bit early. Get home, pick up mid or late first quarter, I think is when I picked the game up. Watch live until the middle of the third quarter, and then watch the rest back as if live this morning, already knowing the score. But I watched the broadcast feed, and then literally in the hour before the show, I went back and watched the condensed game again. So I watched they chop out all the fluff, so it takes about 45 minutes to watch a full game. Watch it again, and I remember watching this live and being like, "Oh, that should have been the dagger," and then making sure that when I rewatched it again to write down the timestamp. With 9:45 to go, Indiana pitches the ball. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Neesmith. Someone gets caught in the air, and they throw the ball back, and it goes over Miles Turner. Actually, no, it was the inbound. They had an inbound. It was McConnell is inbounding the ball. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and he's like, okay, got to go to the outlet to the big, and he overthrows Turner, and Jalen Williams gets the run out dunk. Thunder are up 14 with 9:45 to go. That should have been the same exact turnover that the Mystics had last night in their game, where they have a run going. It's like, oh, this is going to get close. Liberty, smoked them in the second quarter, but they're just chopping wood, coming back. And then it's the NBA, it's the WNBA. Everybody makes a run. And that was the thing that like the Pacers did yesterday that was so remarkable was they never let, and OKC, by the way, is the best at this in the entire league. It's what's actually made them dominant this year. It's typically in the third quarter, they go on a run that you can't come back from. They go on like a back-to-back run where it's like they go on a run, timeout. Now it's our turn to go on a run. Nope, they just extend it out. Now all of a sudden you're down 25 and the game's basically over. Indiana never let them go on that second run. So even though they were down 14 with 9:45 to go, which in most games is an insurmountable lead against this Oklahoma City team, they never let it get worse than that. And so they're able to chip away. All of a sudden it's 8. They're able to chip away. Next thing you know, it's 4 with 2 minutes to go and party on. And Oklahoma City, I didn't love their last 2 possessions offensively, not just from like a result standpoint, from a process standpoint. It felt like they didn't really take it that seriously. It's like, oh, let's just make sure we get a shot off. And they did. They weren't quality shots. And next thing you know, Tyrese Halliburton's got the ball dribbling up the floor with, 6 seconds to go and 0.3 seconds left. It's 111-110 Indiana, and there's your final.
Yeah. Going off of that, I think that was what was so good about the Pacers. And to be honest, Craig, we might have to even have the discussion about the Pacers just being like one of the best fourth quarter like teams because for somehow, some way, they always seem to, be able to rally. And that's why, Richard Jefferson kept on saying this is a 48-minute team because they don't give up. Even if the game looks to be getting out of hand, they just continue to, fight, chip away. And yesterday, them being able to take care of the ball in the fourth quarter, defend at a high clip. Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, they struggled shooting the ball yesterday. Shea, he had it going. He had 38. But the others, they couldn't really get going. So I think you got to tip your hat to the Pacers in terms of limiting what the Thunder were able to do in the fourth quarter, only holding them to about like 15 points in the fourth quarter and then extending, their lead and stuff. So
yeah, no doubt.
This is going to be a series.
In the fourth quarter, I mean, first of all, Obi Toppin in the fourth quarter alone was a plus 17. Mm-hmm. He played 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Toppin's the difference in the game in a lot of ways because he had a ton of turnovers and was bad in the first half. He was awesome in the second half, hit some threes. He had a couple of nice passes, had a couple of rebounds that mattered. In the fourth quarter, I mean, he was ridiculous.
He had 8 in the fourth as well.
Yeah, he had 6 in the fourth. 6 points on 2 of 2 shooting, and then 2 of those, two of 2 threes, and then he also must have hit 2 free throws. No, he just had you said he had 8. I said he had 6. Math, yeah, hard. He had 6. Because NBA.com, I just ordered this today. They have, because I know they have the books like hidden, like the big books that you get handed at the end if you're media. They actually have this as like an interactive, more more user-friendly version on the NBA.com box score. So I'm looking at a fourth quarter box right now. Oklahoma City lost the fourth quarter by 10 points. So they were able to race a double-digit lead. And it's in part because Oklahoma City shoots 36.8%. They were 7 of 19 in the fourth quarter. Didn't make a single three. That's how you do it. Meanwhile, 50% from the field, including 6 of 10 from 3. So you got 0% on 5 attempts, 60% on 10 attempts. There's your difference in the ball game. That is ridiculous. Not to mention, from a turnover standpoint, where it was obviously a huge advantage for Oklahoma City for most of the game, just 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter from, including the one I mentioned on that inbound from McConnell for Indiana. And that's the difference, right, is they have 5 turnovers in the second half, 19 in the first half. And there's definitely more to talk about here, including something that Anthony wanted to talk about in terms of the way that Mark Daigneault and the Oklahoma City Thunder deployed their lineups. So we'll get into that and much more on the NBA Finals in this first hour next here on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Talking about the NBA Finals. You want to get some thoughts in? I guess we can take some calls. 301-230-0980. 5 o'clock. The good thing about where we went to school, Anthony, is there's always a person that we know that's covering something. Andrew Chernoff, who does TV up in Indianapolis, is going to join us. He's in Oklahoma City for the finals. So we'll get the Pacers perspective coming up at 5 o'clock. To the victor go the spoils. And by the spoils, I mean an appearance on the Hoffman Show, Anthony. That's really, what better spoil could you want on a Friday in early June?
A Hoffman Show appearance.
By the way, do you have a note somewhere in your phone about things to do in Paris when you go to Paris next month?
Oh, do I have a note?
Yeah, or are you keeping like a restaurant list or something?
I am not, but I would love to.
Okay, early June in Paris. That's why all of a sudden I said early June, and that popped in my head. Early June in Paris. Probably the best meal we had in Paris. Unbelievable. And if you eat,
is this a breakfast place?
No, it's dinner. And they don't take reservations. But if you eat at an American time and not a French time, it's not that hard to get in. Because you go at 6:30, 7 o'clock, as opposed to when they're eating at 9, and it's not quite.
I'm not
busy.
eating at 9.
Yeah, it's just you'll be fine. Early June, it's delicious. Anyone out there listening that's going to Paris, go to early June in Paris. You can tell them I sent you. They don't know who I am. All right, Mark Daigneault is the coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and last night he made a change to his starting lineup, Anthony, and you didn't like it very much.
I mean, I just thought it was a little weird to change your lineup before playing, the first game in the NBA Finals. And again, these two teams played each other in the regular season. The Thunder ended up winning. They didn't, change their lineup then. But to come into the series with a game plan change, I thought was a little weird, just because I think you see substitutions or you see adjustments made in game 2, maybe even game 3. Game 4 might be a little too late, but you can still, make adjustments in game 4 as well. But I just thought this was a little premature, given you haven't played the Pacers yet, and you haven't seen how they will respond to your double big lineup that you would have deployed out there. So I thought it was a little premature. In the first half, it certainly worked, and I want to say in the second half, it worked until it didn't work. But we'll see what Mark Daigneault does. I would expect him to actually go back, roll out the same stars that he did, because again, I think from the first half, it actually did work out for them.
Yeah. For me, it's hard to I don't know. So I have multiple thoughts here that I'll try to explain and balance out. And I also try to pull some data real quick on all of this. Because no, I don't want to reset the filters. I want to do from that date to this date, and I'd like to get the information, and then that'll allow me to talk more intelligently about this in a second. So the thing about changing your lineup if you're the best team in the league in the NBA Finals is it's probably stupid. You got there for a reason. You got there because you have a tremendous continuity. You got there because you have tremendous output. And I think this is tricky, though, because you have a balance. You have to both balance the matchups and the schematics with the psychology. If you are a team that is built on confidence and, kind of a swagger, then making an adjustment before you've even played a game feels a little bit silly, unless maybe you consider your identity to be, hey, we're adaptable to anything. We're always going to have an answer. But I do think that there's something to saying, hey, we've gotten here by being us. Everyone's got their roles. We're 100 games into the season. Let's just keep things rolling the way they are. And I actually think that is probably the side of the argument I come down on, while also admitting, hey, it's pretty important to make sure that you get that you get the matchups right in a game that is mostly drawn on matchups. As for how it actually played out in the game, the starters for Oklahoma City were Dort, Williams, Holmgren, Wallace and Alexander. Typically, or Gilgeous-Alexander. Typically, Case and Wallace is not out there, and Isaiah Hartenstein, the double big lineup that Anthony referenced, is. So if I look real quick at this, the best lineup, what I say, Gilgeous-Alexander, Dort, Holmgren, Williams, and Wallace. That lineup yesterday played 16 and a half minutes together and was a positive plus minus. It was OKC's second best lineup in the game. Their best lineups were, they only played 3 and 2 minutes together, but they were both +5 per 100. This is also per 100 possessions. So Caruso, Gilgeous-Alexander, Dort, Holmgren, Williams, Caruso, Hartenstein, Gilgeous-Alexander, Joe, and Wiggins. If I change this from, I know this is great radio in terms of, that was actually per game. If I go per 100 possessions, sort it that way, the best lineup in the game was Caruso, Wiggins, Holmgren, Williams, Mitchell. So, you get some of the funkiness, but the starters overall yesterday, that's not where they lost the game. The starters played really well. They got out to a 7-0 lead. They ultimately were able to, hold that advantage that they had early throughout the game when they were in together. And I think if I'm Dagenau, I'd probably go back to it in game 2. Because if I look at also yesterday, I don't see if they even played the double big lineup. Did they play the double big lineup? So we're looking for Hartenstein and Holmgren together. Hartenstein, Gilgeous-Alexander, Hartenstein, Gilgeous-Alexander, Hartenstein. I don't think they played together at all. Actually, I would have to look at 2-man lineups. 2-player lineups. You can sort all this, Anthony? And by the way, again,
I'm learning on the fly.
Tremendous radio right now, let me tell you. All right, Hartenstein and Holmgren did not play at all together in game 1.
So, all right, my question to you then is, since they're going with this small ball, lineup, do you think that favors the Pacers a little bit more than the Thunder in terms of defensive rebounding? What else?
I think they're scared of the matchups. I think they're scared of Holmgren and Hartenstein. Who do they defend? If Indiana's going to go small, do you match it or do you say we're going to beat you up? Neither of those guys are dominant offensive players. So it's not you got Shaq or, Shaq and another big or, Duncan and Robinson back in the day. It's okay, you're going to go small against us. We'll just kill you. They don't have that. And so if Holmgren, who's more of a perimeter player, Hartenstein, who is a useful offensive player, is a pivot piece. He's a good passer, but he's not going to drive it and score. Then what they would have to give you offensively and rebounding wise would have to be worth it, or defensively and rebounding wise would have to be worth it on offense. And that's probably not going to be the case, because defensively, are you actually gaining anything? I would say no. And if you look at the best 2-man groups for Indiana in this game, it's the top end minutes and it's the Turner minutes. When they had their, either super small or one big on the floor, that was the best spot for them. Nembhard Toppin plus 18 in 16 minutes. Nembhard Neesmith plus 17 in 24 minutes. Toppin Neesmith plus 15. That group that wound up closing the game is Indiana's best lineup, and it's kind of going to be on Dagenau to figure out how to match it. And that's the finals, is what buttons do you press? But I think it's probably worth finding out. I think it's probably worth 5 minutes at the very least, and if it goes well in the first half, you go back to it, and if you're nope, there's a reason we're not doing this, then maybe you don't go double big lineup at all. But it's a card to play.
Yeah, and I think Rick Carlisle, the lineup you just pointed out, it's important to note, Turner wasn't playing well into the fourth. Obi Toppin, the first half, struggled. The second half definitely did hit some timely threes. But it's the fact that he just went back to those guys that he's, been leaning on all season long. and they were able to deliver for him. So, again, it's going to come down to coaching. It's going to come down to, who can make the right adjustments. But I think Indiana being able to, close out the fourth quarter as strong as they did, it is huge. And in a game that they did not necessarily play well. Tyrese Halliburton, 13 shot attempts. I don't think we're going to see that again.
I mean, we'll see. It's going to come down to, do they turn the ball over a zillion times? So that's probably part of it. You want to know what's also crazy looking at these two-man lineups? Oklahoma City does not have a single two-man lineup that had a negative point differential in the game. Because
they only lost by one, right?
Right. They lost by one, and all them dudes that were on the floor at the end when they were finally losing or gave up some of that lead or had lost leads at parts of the game were apparently in at different times where they were also ahead in the game or they were gaining in the game. So there's no blinking red light here. It's just that when Nembhard and Toppin are out there, Indiana's plus 18 for those 17 minutes. So you're going to have to find some groups if you're Oklahoma City that can create some separation. Gilgeous-Alexander Holmgren was the best two-man pairing for Oklahoma City in the game. 22 minutes, they were a plus 7. So
that's so crazy considering how poorly Chet shot the ball.
The numbers are noisy, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's a tough deal. Unless there's another page of this data. Oh, that's why. And the fact I just gave has to be wrong. 2-player. There's got to be. Yeah. There's the negative numbers. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, give me that Williams, Cason Wallace minus 11. Dort Wallace minus 10. Caruso Wallace. So I will say the Cason Wallace minutes don't seem to be going great. Maybe you got a point, Anthony. Maybe you got a point. 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980. We'll take some of your calls on the NBA Finals next. show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Just got a quality zoom in, Anthony, on YouTube. Camera went blurry for a second.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, it would have been cooler if I could have hid the remote and just been like, oh, Hoffman's got real fancy stuff. But I'm operating my own machinery here. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Let's go to Ross in Tampa, who's also from Indianapolis, but works kind of in D.C. sometimes. Ross, you got to pick a location, bro.
Here's the situation, Craig.
Okay.
When I graduated from Ball State University in Indiana, the job in Tampa came calling. I'm not turning it down. I've been down here since 2016, but, outside of, obviously Commanders, a little bit of Nationals and Capitals, my heart belongs to Indiana Pacers, man. That's the only Indiana team that I kept with me.
Okay.
But I'll be Ross from Indy here in the next couple of years, man, because this heat's killing me. I'm about to have a heat stroke right now.
All right. Well, assuming that you can stay upright and we do not have any kind of heat stroke, and
how awkward would that be for radio?
Honestly, not great. I don't want to be known as the show where a guy died. That's really not how we've almost made it, Ross, to our third birthday. We're almost 3 complete years at the end of the month, and nobody's died yet. And I would like to keep it that way.
You know what, Craig? Speaking of birthdays, you know what? Reggie Miller and the 2000 Indiana Pacers gifted me a Game 3 win against the Lakers on my 9th birthday. It'd be nice if Halliburton and crew can do the same thing for my 34th birthday next week in Game 3. But before we get to Game 3, Craig, I'm thinking, I was telling Sheehan earlier, I was kind of telling Anthony he had to cool me off and put me on hold because I was getting too revved up for him. Do you think this series goes to Indiana potentially more so than not if we get it done on Sunday? I just feel as though if we blank them both times at home and then we take the 2-0 momentum back in Indianapolis, I just don't think with what Carlisle's got going on with the depth that we have and just the clutch gene that Halliburton has, I just don't see there being a way where OKC can overcome it. They already switching lineups going into the final. I just look at that as an admission that they already know they got to readjust for what Indiana's got coming for them.
I'm going to be honest, Ross. Watching that game last night made me think there's going to be a game in this series that Oklahoma City wins by 40. Indiana might win the series.
It'd be like that.
Indiana might still win the series.
Like
but Oklahoma City was one of the best teams we have ever seen in the NBA regular season. I think it's the 5th best regular season ever in terms of just pure win-loss. 68 wins. They won by an average of almost 13 points, or their scoring margin was a plus 13 basically on the season, 12.8, 12.9. This team is awesome. Man. And
You want to know who? Oh, go ahead.
Look, they are definitely in a very different kind of fight with Indiana because Indiana, once they kind of found out what they needed to do last night, the pace does not bother them. They had to adjust to the length. They had to add more force, and I think they did a tremendous job of that. Oklahoma City will probably try to crank it up an even higher level, but I do think that it's worth pointing out the way Indiana won that game last night was they shot the freaking lights out, and they have been the best shooting team in the playoffs. I don't expect it to fully regress to like a league average level, but it's not like I think that they will have an off shooting night at some point because that's basketball. And depending on just how hot they stay will determine on who wins the series, which essentially turns this into a make or miss league type of finals, which is fun to watch, but becomes very unpredictable very, very quickly.
I hear you on that, Craig. I'm not a series probability guy, but that thing shoots north of 75 if they win Game 2. You know who the Pacers playoff run reminds me of?
Who's that?
The Commanders. That's who their run reminds me of. And, Craig, I appreciate you answering that question on DM, man, and I look forward to hearing the tight end, forgot his name. Goodness gracious. What is his name?
Logan.
Logan. Yeah, I look forward to hearing his take on that, man. Thank you for that, Craig.
Ross sent me an interesting hypothetical. Maybe that'll go in the Take Command mailbag. We'll get that. Ross, thanks for the call.
Man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thought. Thanks for the call. The thing is, look, if Indiana somehow, Anthony, turns Game 1 into saying, all right, you think that was fun, watch what we did to New York, Game 2, let's go. They do it again. Now, New York had the same challenge that Oklahoma City will have. You're 2 down. There's 5 games left. You have to win 4 of them. Would I want any other team in the league to be able to do that? No, they're the best team in the league. But the NBA playoffs are always, always matchup dependent. And like we talked about going into game one, the way that Indiana can win this series is by declawing some of Oklahoma City's defense because they don't have a place for a guy like Chet Holmgren, for instance, to hide. They don't have a way for a place for SGA to hide. The thing is, last night, SGA was really good on that end. Like, he was impactful in that first half. They kept trying to post him, or they would get, he would be in passing lanes. He's stepping up, taking charges. He was really impactful in that first half defensively. They did kind of find a way to make Chet ineffective. Holmgren, bad shooting night, not really involved a ton defensively. And so I'm curious to see what tweaks Dagenau makes in game two, because while, yes, Indiana is the team that has the strongest identity and is really, really good, like, let's not pretend like Oklahoma City isn't adaptable and like they can't just crank it right back up in game two. And remember, they were leading for 46 and a half minutes of game one. It matters who was winning at the end, but it's not like it's full-on panic mode when you led by 46 and a half minutes and then lost by one at the bitter end.
Yeah, and I think to your point about Shea, stepping up on the defensive end, I think Nembhard, though, the shot he hits over SGA, they
Dog.
despite how good he was playing, I think Rick Carlisle and the Pacers still stuck to their game plan. We're going to force SGA to defend. We're going to force Chet to defend. We're going to put him in the action and force them, step up and play. So the fact Nembhard, takes that shot and makes the shot, I think is just, a testament to, them believing in, the game plan and following through. And also, what do you make of, Rick Carlisle not calling the timeout at the end of the game?
Got to do
I think
it.
it's the right call.
100% agree. That is how he should have gone about it. The thing is too, Clinton's coming up in a little bit, and I know something that we're going to talk about this game, this series, and these teams, but something that he and I were talking about a little bit earlier today was he was like, "Where's Caruso going?" Like on that last play, he kind of gets caught in between. But what I was telling him was like, "Man, it's tough. It's a scramble situation." And he's like, I would rather have Caruso on the ball always because he's so good as an on-ball defender. And Clinton's like, well, that's another thing. And I'm like, that's why you don't call the timeout. Because exactly what I think it was RJ, it might have been Doris, said on the broadcast. You don't call timeout because you have the best defensive team in the league in a scramble mode. They are trying to make sure they're matched up. You've got Case and Wallace on Hallie as opposed to, what's one of the things I said was key yesterday. If I'm Oklahoma City, I want Dort or Caruso on Halliburton the entire night. And I don't have the ability to look this up as quickly as I like. I think I can look it up, but I'll see if I can at some point by the end of the show. Matchups versus who's guarding who. Actually, I don't even know if I can do that on the NBA. There's a lot of stuff on the NBA stats engine. I don't know if that's one of them. I think I need second spectrum data or whatever. But point is, there can't have been more than 10 possessions yesterday where Dort or Caruso, mostly Dort, wasn't on Halliburton. Like, Dort was the guy, and he did a good job. You get in a scramble situation late off a defensive rebound, you got Case and Wallace. Caruso's, caught in helping on, Caruso, for as great as he is on ball, occasionally gets a little lost off the ball. Siakam, one of the best off-ball movers in the sport. Most guys stay out in the corner, right? So paint the picture in your head. Halliburton comes up on the left side, crosses over. He's now going to the right wing. Pascal Siakam is in the strong side, a.k.a. the same side corner. And he's kind of fading towards the corner, and most guys stay there. And so Caruso has made it where he's kind of trying to force Halliburton to make that pass in the corner, and it's like, we're going to live with a challenged Pascal Siakam 3 for the game. What does Siakam do? Cuts back door. Sprint to the rim. Bang, bang. Caruso's like, uh-oh. He starts turning around, chasing Siakam. That is all this. And Wallace kind of thinks he might have help from Caruso coming. It's pretty good defense, but not airtight. That one little half step to the right is all the space Halliburton needs. Ball game. Sorry, I had to push it more. for the radio audience, did a little fake shot. I gotta work on my Tyrese Halliburton impression. It's more like over here.
Yeah, it's like right off the.
It's right off
shoulder.
The head. Yeah, it's ball game. That was actually pretty good. Kind of in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Ball game. So that's what I think about that. I don't remember where we started, but that was the ending.
Clinton Yates, talking about whether or not they should have called a timeout.
Oh yeah. No. Good job, Rick. Clinton Yates going to join us at 5:30 to talk about this, plus kind of some of the team building that has gone into it and how it makes us feel about the rest of the NBA. Plus more on the Pacers side of things from Andrew Chernoff, who does TV up in Indy, an old friend of mine from the Syracuse days. He's Indy. Not only is he an Indy guy now, he's Indy born and bred. So it'll be fun to talk to Chernoff about all of this coming up at 5. We'll get into some of the Terry McLaurin stuff, but we'll wrap up our first hour of thoughts on the NBA Finals next here on the Team 980. right, we got 3 minutes before we got to take another break and then hit Andrew Chernoff, my pal up in Indy, who's actually in Oklahoma City after he watched his Pacers win, or I said the Pacers win last night, game 1 of the NBA Finals. Anthony, should we? Oh, Anthony's answering the phone. Apparently, we got callers.
I'm in your ear. We might have Z come on and talk about the Pacers.
Oh, that would be good. Anthony's making a call to one of Indy's finest, and if I got to tell Chernoff, we gotta push him back because we got someone else from Indianapolis on the phone. Then we'll do that. And then we'll push the Thibodeau Knicks or the Jason Kidd Knicks thing till later. We got time today. We got stuff we can move around. Now I'm just watching Anthony answer the phone, talk on the phone. Good?
You got 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from the Indianapolis Colts, Zaire Franklin. C, what's up?
Craig, what's happening?
Man, how's the city today? Like how jacked up is everybody?
Well, I'm currently in Philadelphia.
Okay.
I got a girls flag camp I'm hosting in Philly tomorrow. It's going to be a good time. But the energy in Indianapolis has been sky high. The Pacers, man, they don't call it a comeback. Them boys, they setting the tone, man. They're doing their thing for sure.
So have you been there for the games? I've seen you for a couple of them during the playoff run. What's that atmosphere like? Like, what would you compare it to from like a really hype college football game, hype basketball? Some of the games you went to back at Cuse, or an NFL Sunday. Like, is it as good of a sporting environment as you've been in?
Man, I would tell you the environment. It was like it felt like playoff football. Obviously just playoff basketball. Me being there, Game 6 versus the Knicks. The stadium was hyped. The production was crazy. The energy of the city was just at an all-time high. But I'll tell you, man, the way those teams played against each other, I felt like I was at like a high school state championship basketball game where like it's just evenly matched team and just one team's going forward and one team's not. But those dudes are playing hard. They playing good. The Pacers is hot. They stole game 1, so see if they could get another one and win it for the city.
You and some of these guys on the Pacers have been in Indy for a while. Have you had a chance to get to know any of those guys and like kind of know how they tick and what they're made of?
Yeah, I mean, I've been around those guys. I had a chance to, be around Miles Turner a few times, Halliburton a couple times. So, those good dudes. Obviously, we all root for each other in the city. T.J. McConnell a little bit. So, and Obi. Shout out to Obi. So, we had our run-ins. We kind of, we all moving on the same type time. But, those guys obviously putting the work in. The growth that they've been having is amazing. And, I'm happy for them. I'm happy what they're doing. And we got to follow up in the fall.
Yeah, for sure. Zaire Franklin, Indianapolis Colts, with us here for just a quick minute on the Hoffman Show. You got any basketball takes? I know you know hoops. So you got any insight, any analysis you want to drop on the series?
Halliburton's a superstar in the discussion. That's how I'm carrying it. Shout out to Holly. He keep putting on. Yeah, that's pretty much. I don't know what's going on. You got what's hot in the basketball world. I mean, everybody talking about Holly. What else is happening?
I mean, that's all you need to know is like that dude. I mean, Z, the number of sometimes it feels like we make up stats, but like it's hey, no team's ever done this, or teams have lost 120 straight games in this scenario, and they keep being the one to break those streaks. So like this is crazy. Like I can't remember anything like what they've had the run in these playoffs. They've won so many. It's like they've won 4 games on a Hail Mary in a single playoffs. Like you don't do this.
Yeah, it's a little different than a Hail Mary, but I definitely say, look, the common denominator and everything is Halliburton, man. So get that man his flowers, man. He's a superstar for sure.
For sure. Overrate that. Z, have a great rest of the spring. Have fun at minicamp, and I'm sure we'll talk to you down the line. And I'll keep Haney in line until it's your turn.
Yes, please do.
All right, I'll
boys.
do my best. All right, see you, Z. Zaire Franklin, everybody. Nice pull, Anthony. How'd you get that one?
So he called me during the break, and I was like, "We're about to come back from break. You want to hop on for like 4 minutes?" He was like, "Yeah." So I was like, "All right, man. Say no more. Let's go."
There's no setup there. I was like, "Am I supposed to ask him is there a specific take that he wants to get on? Does he want to talk hoops? Do you just want to rep for his city?"
Look, he in Indy, like And I texted him yesterday after the game. I was like, after game 6, actually, I was like, Indiana's turn right now. He was like, yeah, it is turn. So after they stole game 1, I'm like, Indiana's turned up.
The thing is, like, it's a great time for Z because, like, the Colts now, post Peyton Manning, that is an equally football town. Like, they love their Colts. But Indiana is Indiana. Like, Rick Carlisle said it after the Eastern Conference Finals, and I'm sure a lot of other places that love basketball are like, that's not true. And, like, there's levels to all of this, but, like, in 49 states, it's basketball, and in Indiana, it's life. Like, there is still that through line of what basketball means to that state. Obviously, there's cities, including D.C. Like, D.C. is a basketball town on, like, the high school level, even though there's been a ton of football, and the pro football team here has been the dominant force for decades. But, yeah, the Pacers, man, how much they mean to Indiana. And I think what's really cool to wrap things up real quick on this thought, and then we can actually talk about it a little bit more with Andrew Chernoff coming up at 5 o'clock here for Not My Beat, is Oklahoma City is the same way. Like, that's the only pro sports team in the entire state of Oklahoma. Everything else is college. It's their baby. And so to see the fan bases and how hyped they are, it's a huge part of this series. The atmospheres are going to be great, and pretty pumped to watch the rest of this series starting in Game 2. Game 1 to the Pacers. So let's talk about it. Andrew Chernoff. When did he think this team could make a run? He's been covering them all season long. Andrew Chernoff, who does TV up in Indy, joins us next on The Hoffman Show. the Hoffman Show. We're on the team at 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the team 980. Just after 5 o'clock, top story of the day is the NBA Finals. It's time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Andrew Chernoff is an anchor for Wish TV in Indianapolis, old classmate of mine at Syracuse, but not only professionally in Indy, that's his neck of the woods. Been watching the Pacers a long time, has seen this entire thing get built, and holy crap, Andrew, you're in Oklahoma City, and the Pacers are up 1-0 in the NBA Finals. What's up, my friend?
Yeah, did people have that on their bingo cards before this series started? I really don't think so. I mean, the big thing was Craig. If they could have stolen one here in Oklahoma City before going back to Gainbridge, that would have been huge. And now there's a possibility they're going to be up 2-0. I mean, it's just the whole thing with this Pacers team, and you guys know this, you can't make this stuff up. I'm running out of adjectives to describe these comebacks because they just keep happening. And I don't know what it is. I don't think there's a magic wand. It just, they wear teams down. And I think at this point, if you're another team playing them and they're doing this whole comeback thing against you, you're mentally checked out because you know what's about to happen.
And yet they took every last second last night to make it all the way. They did not lead in the game until they led for the final 0.3 seconds. So it wasn't like there was a seesaw, anything. When in that game last night did you go, oh, this could happen again? What was it in the fourth quarter as they started to close it? Did it take until Halliburton had the ball in his hands with a chance to take the lead? Like, when did you know this could be happening again?
Basically, I'd say around 2 minutes to go when they cut it to 4 or 5. I forget what the specific number was, but then I'm starting to think, wait a minute. We've seen this before. They've been in worse holes at this point in games that they've won. It's honestly, I'm still at a loss for words with what they're doing. But I will say this, when Halliburton got the ball with 7 seconds to go around midcourt before taking it all the way and then obviously shooting a jump shot, I turned even to my sports director near me afterwards and right before, and I'm like, he's going to make this shot. I don't know, again, how to explain it. If the ball was in his hands, he was going to make it, and he did. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, when we look back at this, Craig, that anonymous, overrated player poll is going to be viewed as what propelled the Pacers to potentially an NBA championship.
So let's double click on that for a second, because in a way that feels ridiculous. In a way, it also feels perfectly 2025 NBA because everyone is petty and that is how the thing goes. Andrew Chernoff, Wish TV, Indianapolis, with us here on the Hoffman Show. The funny thing about that poll, Andrew, is I'm sure you know, is it was a relatively small sample, and Halliburton was one of a bunch of players listed. He had it was 11% of the vote or something, but someone did the math. It's 9 guys in the league said he's overrated. But you're around this team. That was something they internalized and have used as fuel. Yes, that's not, the storyline is real, even if the poll on some level is not.
Right. You barely have a whole team, I guess, that essentially, just numbers-wise, that may have helped propel this Pacers team just because of the added motivation. I mean, it's funny because Tyrese even last night was talking about how this team in particular, because they were all sort of there last year, so this group has been together. When people rip them, when people say after last year, oh, you shouldn't have made the Eastern Conference Finals, everyone else was hurt, you guys don't deserve credit, they take all of that personally. Now, Ty even referenced it's a young team. They probably shouldn't be on social media as much, but it is what it is. But they hear that stuff and use that as motivation, and it could be whether you're looking back at last year and saying they shouldn't have been in that moment, or this Tyrese Halliburton's overrated. It's ironic, too, because even when I was in Cleveland or New York, as soon as the crowd started chanting overrated, because we had that for a little bit after this obviously unscientific poll came out, but that's when Tyrese went off. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they think about these things and it just fuels them and they're thriving off of it right now.
Andrew Chernoff, Wish TV in Indianapolis, with us here on the Hoffman Show. Chernoff, can I take you back a year? Because I think one thing that's interesting to think about with these two teams is the patience that ownership has given them. But sometimes that also comes from the fan base. If you look at what happens in New York, they have their best season in 25 years and they fire the coach. And everyone's kind of like, wait, really? That's when you make that move? As opposed to Oklahoma City has been this slow build over the course of years because Sam Presti has basically unchecked power to do whatever he wants from ownership and can build it the right way. A year ago when they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, or in maybe even a year prior when they lose when that season ended, was there any pressure to make changes, or is there just a really high level of trust in Carlisle, obviously the head coach, and Kevin Pritchard, the lead executive there, that they don't necessarily feel pressure from the fan base and thus none from ownership, and that has maybe allowed them to build this in a way that other NBA franchises aren't afforded the opportunity to?
I think, and it's funny because Rick even was telling us at the start of this series during media days that this series should celebrate what Presti's doing, obviously, here in Oklahoma City, but also what Pritchard's doing back in our neck of the woods in Indy, because these are two built, not bought teams, right? And it's sort of, it's changing potentially. We'll see in years to come if this was the slingshot to change how teams are being built, and it's not necessarily super teams, but the patience level, I think, with these teams in particular probably comes a little bit from quote-unquote small market, right? I mean, it's not New York. What happened to Thibodeau is just still mind-blowing. Like, that would never happen in Indiana. But I also do think there's this great relationship with the GMs, with the head coaches. Rick Carlisle, when he took over, knew it was going to be a rebuild. And you look at his record every year since he came back to Indiana, getting better. Now he's in the finals just like 4 years later. I mean, it's insane what these two franchises are doing. And there's definitely – now it's going to be interesting, too, going forward, because the expectation is clearly for the Pacers. This is no longer a fluke, right? So next year, the expectations are really going to be there. This year, they were there to at least get to the, semifinal round of the conference tournament, or conference semis or whatever. But now that they've done this in 2 straight years, there is going to be pressure next year. And it's going to be fascinating to see what that means in respect to how the team handles that and how these fan bases handle that as well.
When during this season, because there's this great, I'm sure you've seen it. We're going to play a clip of it a little bit later on in the show. Really kind of funny, but genuinely a great moment between Scott Van Pelt and Halliburton last night, where Van Pelt was like, I was a little bit late. And Halliburton's like, thanks for admitting that. He's like, well, to be fair, we were a little late too, because they did not start this season. Did the Indiana Pacers necessarily on fire? When did you think, though, like, they found their feet. This team's got a shot? Because they obviously did make the conference finals last year, and obviously you look up at the end of the season, and I think that the 4th best record post All-Star break. So they had really found it. When in the calendar did you go, this team's got a shot to get back to where they were and maybe beyond?
I'd say end of January. Everyone with this team points to New Year's, right? Like, turn a page, new leaf, make your resolutions. Clearly, the Pacers' resolution was get healthy, and as soon as they became healthy, they were on it. I mean, it is wild because we even looked at the start of this year and we were thinking, what's going on? They're struggling with this team. Their record's not good. I mean, they had around 10 wins, 25 games into the season, which is not good, especially from a conference finalist last year. That just wasn't good, but they also had injuries. So as soon as guys like Aaron Nesmith came back and other guys, they started clicking. It took a little bit, obviously, to just re-gel everyone. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're winning, and they won a lot of games by doing what they're doing in the playoffs now with these comebacks, making clutch shots. Yes, none is dramatic, obviously, but they're used to winning close games. They're used to pulling games out that they should not win, and that's been building for a while. And I think that's the thing that maybe the national people don't understand yet is, like, they've done this all year. So the fact they keep coming back and winning tight games isn't surprising. It's still mind-blowing how they're doing it and the deficits they're dealing with, but they have done similar things throughout the season.
Andrew Chernoff, Wish TV, Indianapolis, with us here on the Hoffman Show. Another minute or two. So ultimately, when you look at it, it's hard to break down a ton of X's and O's from last night, Andrew, because it's not like they were winning for most of the game. They didn't lead until 0.3 seconds to go, but they were able to stem off some kind of devastating Oklahoma City run, and they obviously made many runs along the way to close what was a gap that opened early. I mean, they started the game down 7-0 immediately. So what did, from like a X's and O's, through your own opinion and what everyone was saying after the game, What worked for Indiana last night that you feel good about moving forward in this series? And then what are maybe some things that we should watch for that are concerning if you're coming at it from the Pacers side, where Oklahoma City might make an adjustment or two?
I'd say the biggest thing is if I'm a Pacers fan, you're getting hope even if they lose last night. They played like trash. Let's call it what it is, especially in that first half. And yet they still kept the game manageable, right? I don't think OKC played great either, but if the Pacers lose last night by 6 or 7 points and play the way they did with over 20 turnovers, that's something you can fix, right? And obviously the turnover situation, they cannot do that. Now, with that being said, also on the flip side, OKC's defense is very good, and they're a deep team, and that's sort of the blueprint also what the Pacers are like. So they got to create separation. Tyrese Halliburton has to take the game into his hands. And again, I got to give a ton of credit to Rick Carlisle for just keeping these guys always engaged when they get in these situations. Craig, I'm not lying to you. There's been times during this playoff run, I'm watching the game, I'm thinking, what is Rick Carlisle thinking? And then at the end of the game, they win. And I'm like, I give up. He's playing five-dimensional chess and is way smarter than me, who doesn't know what's happening.
I covered Rick when he was in Dallas. I gave up very early trying to be smarter than Rick Carlisle because that is a good way to look like an absolute buffoon. That dude's a genius.
Yeah, he's a total genius. And, I can't tell you the amount of times that he's been asked about lineups or why'd you make this substitution. And we're watching the game, and I'm thinking, are they just giving up till the next game? They come back and win. I mean, the guy, to me, this is his best coaching job he's done ever. And I think he has good rapport with the guys, but I can't give Rick Carlisle enough credit. And obviously, if he ends up somehow winning another NBA Finals with this team, hopefully, in the grand scheme of things, when basketball's said and done, he's going to be viewed as one of those top guys as just a basketball mind.
Yeah, when the NBA named their NBA 75 team, he wasn't one of the top 15 coaches. At NBA 100, if he wins this title, if they say they do 20, Rick Carlisle is going to be in there. And I think based off what he's done, where he is now on the all-time wins list, and a championship and other finals appearances, he probably belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's incredible. Andrew, this was fantastic, dude. Really appreciate it. Depending on how long the series goes and how things go, hopefully we'll have you back. And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the series. We're having a blast watching it on TV. It's awesome you get to be there, and enjoy it, my friend.
Anytime, Craig. I'm disappointed we ran out of time because I was about to start telling college stories, but I guess that will have to wait for another
look
day.
at the time. Andrew's got to run. He's got a thing, and we have another. I mean, maybe next time. I'm probably the more boring person if we want to really get into it, Andrew, when it comes to college stories between the two of us.
You know what? We'll see. Well, let's play that game later.
Okay. Andrew's like, on second thought, maybe I should go. Appreciate it, Chernoff. Thank you, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig.
All right, that's Andrew Chernoff with us here on the Hoffman Show, Wish TV in Indianapolis. So check out their website. They got all their coverage there. It's Wish 8 in Indy. Really appreciate his time. Anthony, famously, I'm getting in so much trouble for this. There's so much to do in Oklahoma City. So he's very busy right now.
Is that a joke or no?
It's kind of a joke. Oklahoma, look, I've been to Oklahoma City multiple times. It's a fine place to spend a day or two. You can get some good meals, not a lot of activities, not a lot of stuff to do.
I heard they have a tall building there.
There's one very, very, very tall building, yes. And it makes every single shot when they're doing the what they call the bump shots in TV.
Mm-hmm.
Every bump shot is the same building.
Okay.
Yeah, last night they had the Thunder logo at the top of it. I don't know if you remember that coming out of commercial break.
I did not peep that.
Got to pay more attention, Anthony. Got to pay more attention. All right, Clinton Yates. We'll react to some of what Chernoff said next. We'll get to Clinton Yates coming up 5:30 here on the Team 980. Actually, Anthony, I lied. I think we are. It's Hoffman Show. It's Team 980. We're always live as well in the free Odyssey app. I always love when Anthony's like, hey, are we doing this thing here? And I go, no. And then I think about it for 5 seconds and I go, actually, that's probably a good idea. So great chat for basically almost the first full hour and a half of the show about Game 1 of the NBA Finals. We'll get back to it in 8 minutes with Clinton Yates. And then we'll do some football in the 6 o'clock hour. The interesting comments this morning from John Keim on the Junkies on Terry McLaurin's contract situation. Grant and Danny had Albert Breer yesterday. He talked about it, so we'll get you all caught up on the latest and kind of what's going on and why it's all of a sudden bubbling to the surface. We'll get to Terry coming up in just a little bit. But there's a report out from ESPN that the Knicks are interested in Jason Kidd as their next head coach, which would make sense because Jason Kidd's been a good head coach in the NBA. I mean, he had that really rough start in Brooklyn. We had like the Cup incident, which was very silly. But he had a good stint in Milwaukee with Giannis back in the day. Set a great foundation there. He's had, good stints other places as well. And with Dallas, he helped him get to the NBA Finals a couple years ago with Luka, obviously. And the Knicks have yet to request permission to speak to Kidd, who has 2 years remaining on the contract extension he signed during the Mavs' run to the NBA Finals last year. And on the Dallas side, they have not yet discussed whether the franchise would be willing to grant permission for Kidd to speak with the Knicks. But I find it pretty interesting that this got... I'll put it this way. I think it's interesting that this got out because I tend to think if there was absolutely no interest from either side here, or from the Jason Kidd side, that this doesn't really get out, right? Because if you're planning on staying in Dallas, you don't want this. And sure, you don't. Kidd could easily have kiboshed this. The reporters call up, they call his agent, and whatever. That hasn't been official request. He might know nothing about this, and maybe this is just coming out purely from the Knicks side. But I do tend to think, Anthony, like if I'm Jason Kidd and I signed up for the Mavs job thinking I'm going to coach Luka Doncic, and I know that he's about to get Cooper Flagg, and he's got Kyrie Irving, and he's got Anthony Davis, and that's the Mavs aren't bad, but if they're going to potentially trade my best player, like they did with Luka, without me knowing about it, without me being consulted, I'm probably going to feel a certain type of way. And that type of way I might feel is, get me the hell out of here. Now, there's a complicating factor here, which is the Knicks gave up 1 million draft assets for Mikal Bridges. And if I'm the Mavs, I am at least at first not letting Jason Kidd go for free. If he wants out, I don't necessarily want him to stay. Right? That becomes a complicating factor if he's like, hey, I would like to go. And you're like, oh, that's not good for morale. But you definitely don't want to lose your head coach for nothing. So long story short, this gets real complicated real fast. But the fact that there could be interest from Kidd in getting out of Dallas tells you just how bad things are in Dallas. And that is, to me, far more interesting than the Knicks side of it is, hey, you want to know how to ruin a franchise? Trade Luka Doncic. Your coach will want to leave. I'm sure all the players, like Klay Thompson, is probably not psyched. And they're getting the number 1 draft pick in a really, really excellent draft. Can help, but is not going to fix everything.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about this the other day and how being an NBA head coach might be one of the worst positions, in the league. And I think the point you raised about, Luka being traded in the middle of the night, Jason Kidd wasn't happy about that.
No way.
Even if they were, supposed to be together on a united front, him sitting next to Nico trying to mask, the anger he had inside of him, we saw right through it. So I think it just sheds light on, the fact that he might not be able to trust Nico and, the ownership there. But also, you go look at New York and what James Dolan and them are doing up there, and it's like, can you trust them as well? So he's in the middle of a sort of kind of crossroads that you sort of kind of don't want to be, but I don't really know what other options he really has, to be honest. He is doing a phenomenal job with these 2 franchises, but
Which
know.
one? I'll tell you this. Which one would you rather coach? The Knicks or the Mavs?
I mean, from a roster standpoint, I would probably want to coach the Mavs because you have a little bit more flexibility with them. And you also have the number one pick.
Interesting. Like, to me, the sell on the Mavs is I'm going to be Cooper Flagg's first coach. And if he gets good quickly and we can do some winning early, like I can maybe be the coach here for 20 years, which would have been an easier sell under previous ownership, right? Mark Cuban kept Rick Carlisle for a long time in Dallas before they finally parted ways. Donnie Nelson was the GM in Dallas for a long time before they ultimately parted ways. You know, Mark Cuban showed a lot of loyalty to good people. Like Mark was good at selecting them and good at saying like, hey, we're not going to overreact. And for as crazy as he was on the sidelines and everything, like he was a smart manager of people. I don't know about the new ownership in Dallas. I think obviously loyalty doesn't seem to be a part of the equation because they traded Luka Doncic in the middle of the night. If you go to New York, you have a ready-made roster to win over the next year or two, potentially. But long-term, are you just setting yourself up to say in 3 years, I want to be out of here? And is that what you want if you're Jason Kidd? Probably not. Probably not. I don't know who the right coach is. You know, if Jay Wright does want to take an NBA swing with all his Nova guys, like, and if it's done, he just goes back to CBS and does college hoops in 3 years, like, who cares? He's young enough that he could do it. But I do think that the most fascinating part of this story is if there's any real discussion or any even desire for Kidd to get out of Dallas, because that tells us a lot about what's going on under the hood with the Mavs. And as I've been telling you, it's not good. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Loyalty, doing things the right way. Sounds like a recipe for success. It's how the Thunder and the Pacers wound up in the NBA Finals. We'll talk about that philosophically, but also the specifics of Game 1 with Clinton Yates next on the Team 980.
I like the fact that Oklahoma and Indiana are doing it in a way that is palatable and understandable and isn't just dumb luck that they got some generational player or whatever in the draft and all of a sudden they're riding their coattails. No, brick by brick.
Hoffman Show. We're on the team 980, always live as well in the free Odyssey app. And we are talking about game one of the NBA Finals all show long and the things that go into this series. We'll do that part now with Clinton Yates, who visits us as he typically does on a Friday. Yates, what's up?
What's up, man? How are you? I love the NBA Finals. Like, those who don't know, it is one of my favorite things in sports is the NBA Finals. So I'm fired up.
Yeah, I am too. I always love Zach Lowe does it every year on his show. He's always like, this is why we play the games. Like, this is why we talk about all the other stuff. And for all of the other stuff that gets attention in the NBA, like, this is why we do it. So game one last night, an unbelievable comeback yet again from the Indiana Pacers, as we've been talking about all show long, as I'm sure you talked about on your show. Of course, Clinton and Friends, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern on ESPN Radio daily. What stands out to you about this game, and does it change at all how you think about the series?
So it's worth noting that, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, I'm saying this because this is legitimately where I thought we would be. I said Thunder in 5, Pacers take game 1. That was my philosophy on what was going to happen. And the reason why is because I felt like the Pacers, and more than just your normal, we got to get game 1 in order to have a chance, but I think that they needed a proof of concept game. And a guy like a Rick Carlisle, who has coached to a championship before with a supposedly underdog team, he knew that they're going to have to get one, and it can't be the second game because that changes the entire setup of how this is going to go. And the way they had such evenly distributed scoring and the way they got a little lucky as well with all those turnovers that didn't turn to many points, that worked out very, very well for the Pacers, but I still think the Thunder are going to come back.
Yeah, this is a wholly unsustainable. The 5 turn only wound up with 5 or 9.5, but the shooting is ridiculous. And it just, if you're going to need Obi Toppin to hit 5 threes to win, I don't think you're winning a lot of games against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And, you know, the Thunder had a pretty lackluster day shooting the basketball from deep. You know, Dort does hit 5, and he's been, as Doris Burke said on the broadcast, struggling. But I do think that like Oklahoma City shrine, but like teams for real. And I think the gap between Indiana and OKC, despite the regular season records having a significant gap, it's one, the two teams I think are closer than people wanted to admit coming in. But also, two, stylistic is one of the go with Oklahoma City. So this is, while Oklahoma City sweeps 28 teams in the NBA, 25 teams in the NBA, I never really thought Indiana would be one of them.
Well, the thing about that is that the Thunder beat them twice in the regular season as well. So that adds to this over. It was now he got back. That totally changed how they were operating. And so if you do the math on this, and a caller has called in and say this today, I'm parroting what this person said, which was such an interesting point that I'm bringing it up here, which is that if you were to say, well, if they were healthy all year, this team is probably a 60-win team on some level. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's no way to devise that. But think about it, is where they are now. If they had their full complement for the entirety of the season, I think people would view this differently in terms of who they are matchup-wise, because OKC blew everybody out. They were banging out people on the Eastern Conference. They lost 2 total games to the Eastern Conference all year. So I feel that coaching is a big factor here, as I mentioned earlier, but also, I mean, the depth of that team, the Pacers, is unreal. And, you know, we joke about it a lot and say, oh, Indiana basketball, they play for each other, they grow the game there, yada, yada. It's real, Jack. The power of friendship is a thing. When your dudes actually like each other, the chances of your basketball team being good go up. And it's cool to see that, I think, in an NBA that for so long has been kind of mired in this who's a hooper, who's a baller, who's a leader, who's a superstar kind of nonsense. Dude, just pick some guys that actually want to be around each other and have a solid skill set with a coach that respects them, and you might actually end up in the finals. That's what's cool about both of these teams.
Yeah, I was going to say, you say that about Indiana. It's the same thing is true about Oklahoma City. And by the way, they know it. Shea has talked about that, like the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the kind of stuff we talked about, frankly, last year with the Commanders, of kind of why they elevated. But that is true for these two teams as well. And it does, as Clinton Yates is with us, of course, Clinton and Friends on ESPN Radio. He's with us every Friday here on the Hoffman Show. It does make me think a lot about the team building element of this, because for years it was like we're getting out of the big three compile talent and figure everything else out era, which ironically was dominated by a team that had a big three that was organic and homegrown in Golden State. That's the team that was most successful. And before, by the way, the era before that, 5 championships in 12 years of Tim Duncan, in that, or from 2000 to 2014. So 14 years, 5 championships, and also an organically grown team. But it does make me think about what is next with this, especially with the aprons and all the team building restrictions in place. Like, does this change how you would build a team in the NBA, seeing these two teams make the finals?
I'll tell you this. I sure hope so. Bro, I live in LA, where their team building model is absolutely ridiculous season in and season out. They won an NBA title in 2020 and blew up the team. Like, just because they kind of wanted to prove that they were smart. And now Caruso's playing on the Thunder, making plays, maybe not, that we were talking about earlier. And KCP left and went to the Nuggets immediately and won a ring. Like, this idea of, oh, we've got our core pieces, we can interchange all these other dudes. I hated that from the beginning, not just as a fan, but as a person that kind of enjoys the concept of continuity to some degree. I don't need guys going all over the place. I don't like the NBA because of transaction Twitter, which is what a lot of people like. Let's fire up the trade machine. What Shams talking about? What was Woj talking about? Some people enjoy that more than they enjoy the basketball, and I'm not one of those people. Look at the Phoenix Suns. They are the worst example of that. They went through all of these shenanigans, made one finals. Next thing you know, boom, falls apart. The idea that you can be rewarded for actual scouting and actual skill sets when it comes to developing your team is huge to me. I think it makes the product more fun, and it makes doing our job more fun as well, because we can actually cover guys that have some level of investment in where they are, and they're not getting mercenaried out. Not that that's not that it's a right or wrong kind of thing in the sense of good and bad, but there's an effective and ineffective thing that I'm glad that we're moving to a model where effectiveness is more based on a team concept.
Right. Like, there is a moral superiority to it, if you will, where it's like, as a fan, I would like to have, like, who in the NBA right now do you feel confident buying their jersey, that jersey is still going to not be a player that used to play for the team in 3 years?
Exactly.
Seems like Halliburton's pretty locked in.
Right.
Seems like SGA's pretty locked in.
That's it.
Like, Giannis, you felt really good for a long time, but they're figuring out, is he going to stay in Milwaukee or not? There just aren't a lot of dudes. Steph in Golden State, but like in 3 years, is he still in the league? Because he's 37 years old, even though it feels like he's going to play forever. Like, Klay Thompson plays for the Dallas Mavericks. Like, that's crazy. These young guys that have bounced around that are really, really good are going to be on the trade block this summer. Like, the league, from a continuity standpoint, and this is my fear, by the way, with the current setup with the aprons and all that kind of stuff, is like, Tatum gets hurt in Boston. They've tried to do it relatively the right way, building around a core. They've added really smart pieces, guys that they were like, this fits with what we do. And I think the best plan forward for the Boston Celtics this summer is to blow it up, because the current rules are so restrictive based off of where their salary cap is. Like, they've rewarded good players with big contracts, and all of a sudden that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't love the idea of the second apron and how it plays into what the current CBA model is. But I will say this, the Thunder and the Pacers, it's not just what you think it is. I mean, they traded for SGA. And they traded for Halliburton. Like, these weren't just draft picks that they hit on. I mean, there was a lot of that in there, but there's a lot of teams out there also being stupid. And that's part of the reason why I like what the model is that we've seen from OKC and from Indiana, is that it shows proof of concept to some of these other GMs around the league who are constantly trying to be the smartest guy in the room, that like, hey, man, there's ways to do this without doing the typical, we'll get a star and figure out the rest, as we've discussed later. And I'm just happy that some of these guys, like the Presties of the world, are getting their due, not just in the context of, oh my God, look how many picks they got stocked for later. No, they're good right now. You know what I'm saying? And they're excellent right now. And that is to be rewarded. So that makes me happy as an NBA fan.
Yeah, Presti and Kevin Pritchard,
Yes.
the architects of the Pacers, are two of the best in the league. I mean, in fairness to the Clippers, right? Like, at least in the Clippers front, they had, like, Paul George was a top 10 player at the time. They got Kawhi, and, you know, they gave up a lot, and it was basically a bet on can Kawhi stay healthy. And this is fresh off the 2019 championship, where he's arguably the best player on the planet. Typically, if you can get the best player on the planet, you should do that in basketball. That tends to go very well for you. Unfortunately, they took a gamble on a ticking time bomb, and it went annually kaboom around the playoffs. So, you know, like, at least on the Clippers front, I understand it, and it wasn't like they were ever bad. They just could never be healthy at the right time with Kawhi operating at that high of a level. You know, with teams like Sacramento, who had Halliburton and decided he couldn't play with De'Aaron Fox, and then we're going to try the Domantas Sabonis thing. Like, they wound up having one of their best seasons in 20 years a couple years ago when they were the 3 seed. But then they've since traded De'Aaron Fox. And it's like, you had Halliburton and you made this, like, it's the lack of commitment. And this is like an interesting thing for the Knicks on there. You know, they decide to fire Tibbs. Like, it's the same kind of thing. I understand the decision, but at some point, I think people wind up chasing things that don't exist as opposed to having some level of patience. And there's a reason you made some of these transactions or draft picks in the first place.
So, to your exact point, it's interesting that it is mid-market sort of teams that have been able to be consistent because of the way their relationship with their fan bases work. This is not the same as the Bing Bong community where people are beating your door down if something doesn't happen. That being said, the Knicks are effing idiots for this, okay? And follow me here. Frank Isola, who does radio with Brian Scalabrine, he was telling me this the other day. He said Scal is always talking about how the big deal with Tibbs is that when guys in their second year with him really start playing, it changes everything. The Knicks have multiple guys going into their second years with Tibbs, and per the way their team is developing, you're totally resetting your clock in a completely weird way by getting rid of the head coach. He's been there 5 years. They've gotten better 3 years in a row. There's not a human walking this earth that you could tell me right now walks into that locker room and immediately makes them a better team. There's just not. Sometimes you just have to improve in the offseason, and you don't have to change things. I'm highly disappointed in the Knicks for undercutting and rewarding Thibodeau with a firing after he took them as far as they've been in 25 years. That will never make sense to me. I don't care if the rationale is we just didn't have enough thought in him. From a timeline standpoint, this is chaotic for no reason, I think.
Right. Like, I can give you all of the apparently they had a bunch of players only meetings, and, you know, guys were pretty upset about the minutes stuff, and they can never get through to Towns defensively. Like, there's all of these things that I could be like, okay, that makes sense if you tell me that, and okay. So they lost in the first round of the playoffs, right? It's like, no, they almost made the NBA finals. It's like, well then, okay, what were all the things that were going right that almost had them in the NBA finals? Because those seem like they should probably carry some weight, which is why, like, I get and don't hate the move, but I also would have, like, going into it this week as they lost, I was like, I would keep him.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand what your standard is if literally after they make a conference finals was the first time I was a senior in high school, Gregory. The last time
where were you a senior in high school, Clinton?
1999 in the District of Columbia, the capital of the United States of America. What I'm saying is this. How do you put yourself in a situation where after that long, all of a sudden, this just isn't good enough? Like, this is what the Lakers do constantly with all sorts of players and all sorts of coaches. And it's like, at some point, you have to stick with who you got for no other reason than your own mental health. Like this, I don't want to get off on this, but my point is that I like the fact that Oklahoma and Indiana are doing it in a way that is palatable and understandable and isn't just dumb luck that they got some generational player or whatever in the draft and all of a sudden they're riding their coattails. No, brick by brick, they built their timelines and it's working out well.
Yeah, two things real quick just to wrap that thought.
Yeah.
You said the Suns are the worst example of it. They have had a different coach every year of the Ishbia era, including firing multiple coaches of the year.
In the same year. It's unreal.
Good. Like, it's ridiculous. And two, the other factor in that is those teams, if you're Oklahoma City, for instance, you have to operate knowing that you're never getting the star in free agency, as opposed to, hey, if we just hold out hope or we generate cap space here, or like we know when the star wants out, he'll want to come to us. Like, you can't do that if you're not Phoenix, New York, one of the LA teams, Miami, and it changes the way you operate. You have to be shrewd. You have to be, on top of all the other stuff. And there's perhaps no one better than Sam Presti at that, as they are on the verge of what they hope is the Thunder's first NBA title. Of course, losing game 1 last night. Clinton Yates talking about it all, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern, every single weekday on ESPN Radio, which you can catch on the ESPN app. Clinton, thank you, sir, and I'll see you next Friday.
Appreciate you. Happy NBA Finals, all. Ball is life. Have a good weekend, Gregory.
You too, sir.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Football final hour, at least for the first part of it. We'll talk about Terry McLaurin's contract situation coming up at 6 o'clock. But, Anthony, I have found the stat that I've been looking for the entire show. I found it on my own Instagram story. I forgot that I put it up this morning, and someone replied to it, and I finally just checked my DMs, and I was like, oh, yeah, I saved the stat for myself. In the NBA Finals since 1971, teams when trailing by 9 or more points in the final 3 minutes of an NBA Finals game were 0 for 182 before last night. And then,
so they were trailing by how much?
If you were trailing by 9 in the final 3 minutes of an NBA Finals game, in any NBA Finals game since 1971, you lost. That's the last time it happened. 1971. Pop quiz. Who won the 1971 NBA championship?
The Lakers.
I don't think that's correct.
The Celtics.
I think that is correct. 1971 NBA champions. Although it was the Bucks.
Teams.
It was the Bucks.
Dang.
It was the Kareem, Oscar Robertson, Oscar Robertson championship. 1971 NBA Finals. Lou Alcindor at the time still. He hadn't even changed to Kareem yet. And they, you know who they beat that year, actually?
The Celtics.
No, because they were in the East, you silly goose.
Oh, the Lakers.
No, it was kind of a trick question because apparently they might have been in the West. They faced the Baltimore Bullets.
All right.
Yeah.
Baltimore. I didn't even know we were in Baltimore.
Oh, yeah. Before they went to D.C. and they were in Maryland for some time between D.C. and Baltimore, but they were the Baltimore Bullets. Yeah, the Bullets were there's a certain part of our audience is like, you're not really about to tell us this history. And there's a certain part of this audience that is learning with you, Anthony. They were founded as the Chicago Packers in 1961. They became the Chicago Zephyrs in 1962, and then moved to Baltimore, where they became the Baltimore Bullets from 1963 to 1973. They were the Capitol Bullets from 73 to 74, the Washington Bullets from 74 to 97, and then in 1997, they flipped to the Wizards.
Don't we have a name change for the Wizards as well? Coming up?
No.
Yeah.
This is news to me. There's a worse bit than the dude you called us yesterday.
Please don't put me in that category because that was bad.
That was not as bad. That was the biggest waste of time in the history of the show. So there's your. I didn't think I was going to end in Baltimore Bullets history, but 1971 last time. Other fun stats from this game. These are on the Sports Center Instagram feed. 46 minutes and 26 seconds. That's how long Oklahoma City led in game 1. 0.3 seconds. That's how long Indiana won. So, yeah, we saw something pretty crazy last night. When we get back, just how crazy is this Terry McLaurin contract situation going to get? We will get to the latest, including hearing from Albert Breer and John Keim next on the Team 980. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. The top story in DC sports right now is a contract kerfuffle. Bom, 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 bom. Terry McLaurin reportedly upset, frustrated, that according to Jordan Schultz from Fox Sports the other day, about the current situation with his contract. He and the Commanders have been working on the extension for some amount of time. They haven't been able to come to an agreement, and that is annoying Terry. If I was Terry, I'd be annoyed too. I did absolutely everything that this team could have asked for last year, took to the new culture, helped be a leader in that culture, was incredible, had the best season of my career, helped us win a bunch of football games, not just by my general production, by the fact that I was super duper clutch, including kind of the defining moment that launched the season, the week 3 catch against Cincinnati, where I basically told Cliff Kingsbury, throw me the freaking ball. We did, we scored, and Jaden's legend on some level was born. Terry was awesome last year, and he means everything to the franchise as much as anybody can, not named Jaden Daniels. And so I think there is a real question of kind of what's going on here. So a couple people that are tapped into this, Albert Breer, actually, ironically, considering it's Terry, a couple of Buckeyes, Albert Breer, John Keim. Breer will go with first because he appeared on our family of stations first yesterday with Grant and Danny. Breer was asked by the boys, what's going on? What's the tenor of this? Is this something to be worried about?
Yeah, I don't think it's in a great place right now. If you ask me, like where this is, and I think it's just sort of I hate to say normal course of things, but I do think to some degree these things do get bumpy, and I think they've gotten bumpier as the market's exploded over the last couple of years with the cap going up as fast as it has. And so, if you're Terry McLaurin, I think you look at it and you're saying, like, you don't even come to me with anything that doesn't start with a 3, you know what I mean, per year. And I think it's fair of him to ask for something in that range just based on where the market's gone. Obviously last year, Justin Jefferson gets 35 and CeeDee Lamb gets 34. But like I'd say the real comp is probably DK Metcalf, who he gets traded to Pittsburgh and he gets 33 per year on a 4-year deal. So, I think those comps are out there, and I think they will eventually get something done. Terry, and you guys know this, you don't need me to tell you, Terry's too important to what they've built there. But sometimes these things can get a little messy along the way, and that's sort of where we are right now.
I am so glad that we played that clip. Because, Anthony, if you could just before you switch over to the Keim clip in front of you, can you replay the first, 5 seconds of that real quick?
Yeah, I don't think it's in a great place right now.
Right. If you read that in print, Albert Breer goes on Grant and Danny and says, things are not in a good place right now. That sounds worse than Albert's tone of voice is in that clip, which is, it's not in a good place right now. That's an important emphasis, if you will, on that syllable. All right. It is saying this is, and as he goes on to explain as things go, or as he continues to talk in that clip, this is the way business, unfortunately, gets done in the NFL. It's messy. Contract negotiations, there's a reason that most guys have agents. Is that way teams and agents can have these kind of ugly discussions about, hey, you don't want to necessarily go to Terry and be like, hey, sorry, dude, you're on the wrong side of 30. We're not going to give you that deal, but we're happy to give you this. Because then Terry's feelings get hurt, and you have the agent as a buffer, and you have to rely on having a good working relationship with the agent when he talks to his client, he can be a responsible buffer. That you're not going to have a hearsay situation where then, well, in the middle of the season, something happens and it's like, well, you said this offseason, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I didn't say that. Like you have to have a trust in these relationships. And you also have to understand what your client wants. I think Terry wants to be in Washington. He just wants to be respected. Like that's how Terry operates always. He's not looking to be, you got to pay me like Jamar Chase. He wants to be respected for who he is, what he's been, and what he's going to continue to be. So John Keim this morning on the Sports Junkies here on the Team 980 was asked his view on this and why this is taking so long. And here's what Keim had to say.
Sounds like bad stuff.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I would just say, like, sometimes the other sides can get frustrated with their representation.
Okay.
But this is, Terry's been with the guy for a while, and it worked out for him last time, and I think this is a trickier negotiation this time because of Terry's turning 30 in a couple months, and that always complicates it. And this is kind of like, it's hard to find true comps for him at this point because, like, the guys in his draft class, DK Metcalf just signed a $30 million a year deal, but he's a couple years younger. That makes a difference. However, you can look at the production of the two, and Terry's, like, compared to Metcalf the last couple of years, has been better, and so, is he, like, I don't think Terry has reached a point where you start to worry about slippage. I mean, he had his best year last year.
Right.
So I think like you can take the age, but do you think at 33, how much worse is he going to be? Especially with this quarterback. So I think there's, then you look at, like, Mike Evans signed a 2-year deal. It was 20-some million, 21 per year. And he's 31, I think, when he signed it. Maybe he's 30. So I don't think you're going to go that low. You can't. So this is, I think that probably is the one part where it's like, where do you come to the middle ground on all of that?
And that's a really, really difficult question. If I'm Terry, I want as much in guarantees as possible because this is my last big deal, probably. Even if he plays awesome, let's say he has a 3-year deal and he's 33 years old and he plays, really well. Like, are you going to get another 3-year deal at the age of 33? No, you're probably at that point signing, hey, we'll do 1+1s. And the second that your production starts to fall off, then that second year is not going to happen. And that's just kind of how business is done in the NFL. And, by the way, in 3 years, like, you're going to have to then fit your salary into this quarterback that you love playing with. How important is it for you to not do what Ryan Kerrigan did and play 1 year somewhere else at the end of your career? So these are the questions. And if you're Terry, you're like, man, I'm killing it. I'm going to play another 5 years. Like, why are you saying 3 years? Get out of here with that. I'll play till I'm 35, 36 years old. I'm loving this. I'm in great shape. I'm still, it feels like, and that's the thing I think with Terry that's so tough is, yes, he's 30, but his career trajectory to this point is ascending. Last year, he got better coaching and better quarterback play than he's ever gotten before. And so if you're him, not only are you not looking to take any kind of discount, you're saying, hey, man, I know what my birth certificate says, but I'm still getting better. I was under-coached, under everything my first whatever years, and I was still a 1,000-yard receiver every single season, except for one season where I was hurt and I finished with 900-something. So the question is, if you're Adam Peters and you're the Commanders and you're, whoever, Ben Sosna or whoever does the number crunching for them, how much is that worth? And there is also then the cultural element, if you will, of what he is as a leader, and knowing they have to sign him because all of the goodwill they've done and everything they stand for is undone if they can't figure this out. And then what Keim seems to be getting at with that big, Anthony, if you could, can we get the big John Keim sigh again? Because just everyone should note the depth of this sigh. Yeah.
Sounds like.
What followed that sigh was, hey, sometimes the other side gets frustrated too. And seemingly talking about Terry's agent. And my question would then be, based off hearing that, is knowing that they have a ton of leverage here, especially when it comes to the court of public opinion, is Terry's agent basically weaponizing the fact that Terry's a great soldier and saying, come meet us exactly where we are. We're not going to budge. Not just purely as a negotiating ploy for money, but like, you guys don't want the bad press. You guys don't want the freak out. You guys are trying to do it. And if that's the case, if I was Terry, I'd be like, don't play that game. Do it. Do a deal. I'm going to get paid a boatload of money. Don't mess it up. Don't make anybody mad at anybody. That's not what we're about here. And so it's on everybody, right, to get this done. Everyone's going to have to give a little. The agent's not going to be able to get everything the agent wants. The player's not going to get everything the player wants. The team's not going to get everything they want. That's why it's negotiation. You typically compromise. I'll give a little here. You give a little there. Everyone's got their reason. But at the end of the day, if you're doing this in good faith, it should feel like it's progressing forward. And my guess is for Terry, it stopped feeling like it's progressing forward, and that might lead to some frustration. That is me guessing. That is me reading tea leaves. I have no inside information here. I have no information at all based off or outside of my years of experience covering this stuff and what you just heard. But I do have a lot of years of covering this stuff. This is how business unfortunately gets done in the NFL. And I would say the good news is mostly at the end of it all, the bad feelings dissipate away. The only way they don't is if it's something like what Cincinnati's done, where they do this with everyone every single time. And if you're, say, Trey Hendrickson, you're going on another year of this because you keep getting franchise tagged. You keep getting told, oh, we have to take care of this guy. Oh, we're doing that. And at the end of the day, you're like, hey, I know I'm getting well paid and, relative to the population here, but how many more sacks do you want me to get before I get my bag? That's what you're doing if you're Trey Hendrickson. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. 301-230-0980. We'll take your calls on this. And then our weekend preview at 6:30. Still to come here on The Hoffman Show. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Talking Terry McLaurin and the contract situation. If you're just tuning in, go ahead and hit that rewind on the Odyssey app to the top of the hour, to 6 o'clock, because you'll definitely want to hear what John Keim and Albert Breer said about it. We just played those clips. Taking your calls now at 301-230-0980. Let's get the calls started with Matthew. Matthew, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Thanks, Craig. I want to say I really appreciate your show. I am always smarter for listening to it.
Thank you. Sometimes, sometimes that can't be true. Actually, Matthew, you can say sometimes you're smarter for listening to it, and we try our best. But there's definitely times all of us get dumber from this show.
Actually, I think what I can say is sometimes I get smarter because of what you say, and sometimes I get smarter in spite of what you say.
You know what? Anthony, cut that, put it on a T-shirt, cut it on a promo. That's the best summation of this show that has ever existed. Matthew, what is your point of Terry McLaurin?
My point is the following. I think everybody's right. The issue regarding Terry McLaurin, nobody wants to see him leave. Everybody 100% wants him signed, and everybody's talking about the real goodwill that he has with the fan base, which is 100% earnest and earned. He is a great man and a great player. I also want to note, though, that this ownership group has built up a lot of goodwill with the fan base as well. They've done basically everything right. They've taken care of the fans. They've taken care of the team, and they've demonstrated a winning product on the field that we can feel confident is going to continue into the future. So I don't want us to lose track of their goodwill either.
I think that's a good point, Matthew. I think the only thing I'll say is I doubt this is a cash issue of any kind where ownership is like saying, oh, no, we can't pay that contract. My guess is this is a spreadsheet numbers issue, but that doesn't mean ownership can't get involved. And I think this is where, like, Josh Harris being a smart person, and in the past, the last owner not being a smart person, is really important. Because there is wiggle room between, hey, I am Josh Harris, I am ownership, get this done, and which means you just kind of are screwed if you're the GM. If you're Adam Peters, you lose all your negotiating power, especially if, God forbid, the owner calls the player or the player's agent and literally gets involved in the negotiation. But I do think it's well within Josh Harris's rights here to walk into that room and say, like, hey, what's going on with Terry? All right, like, look, we don't want to do anything stupid, but, like, we got to get this done, and we got to remember our priority here is getting this done. And maybe that does slide the meter a little bit more in McLaurin's direction, but as long as it doesn't have any long-term cost to the franchise, that's fine. And you can always, at that point, if you're Josh, if in a couple of years it's like, hey, well, we can't do this other thing because McLaurin's money is in the way, then if you're Harris, what are you going to do? Get mad because you told him to do it? So it buys some job security in a weird way by losing a little bit in the negotiation for Adam. And I think it's important to remember, even though it feels ridiculous to talk about anyone's job security in this equation right now, that is always a motivating factor for all people. Whether it's the agent, whether it's the player, whether it is the general manager, that is always a motivating factor for all people.
That's a great point. I do want to say when I was saying the ownership, I really should have said the new management, because Adam Peters has a lot of goodwill with the fan base as well, because he's made smart moves, he's made strategic moves. We've become better and stronger because of personnel that he's chosen and personnel that he's chosen to let go. I really appreciate your time. I'll let you go. I know you got a lot of people. Thank you all so much. And Anthony, you're awesome.
Thanks, Matthew. Matthew joining us. You can get your call in at 301-230-0980. We might have time for one more real quick if you call like right now. But the other thing about this that I think is a good piggyback on that discussion is you have to. This is ultimately what I judge franchises on, right? We've been doing this show for almost 3 complete years. I've been giving opinions on teams forever. I've been doing the media thing for a decade plus. I've been on a beat. I have done a lot of update anchoring and listened to a lot of sound bites and things over the years. I've been in press conferences as a reporter, and I've been sitting in the opinion chair quite a bit too. My thing always, and I've had this conversation, by the way, not to put a million more caveats on it, but just perspective here, right? I always will tell team executives this. I will judge you on your merits, at least early in a regime. If you tell me this is what's important to you, and you think this is how you build a winner, all I'm going to try to do in my role as an opinion giver is hold up a mirror and say, you are or are not accomplishing the thing that you said was important. I don't make the rules. Eventually, if we're 3-4 years into it, you can keep saying thing X, and I can be like, well, clearly that's not working because now we have a 3-year track record of wins, losses, or a 5-year track record of wins, losses, depending on the sport, depending on the build. Turning things around in the NBA is different than the NFL, is different than the WNBA, is different than Major League Baseball. Like they're all different. But ultimately, are you at least doing the things that you say that are important to you? Or are you saying a bunch of stuff and doing another thing? And this is where this negotiation is so tricky if you're Adam Peters. You have said the things that are important to you are a bunch of characteristics, a bunch of traits, a bunch of actions that ultimately add up to a picture of Terry McLaurin. And so if you are not willing to reward that, then what are you actually about? And that by the way, is why that sounds damning. And if you were to cut that there and send that clip to Adam Peters, he'd probably get really mad about it because it's like, what are you saying? The thing is, that's why I think this is going to get done. Like, this is going to be fine in the end, and probably the end is nearer than it is far. And I would say it's a 50-50 shot just based off of the information in front of us that this is done before next week, and Terry's at mandatory minicamp, and everything's fine. And if it's not done then, it'll get done before training camp. It's going to get done because I don't think Adam Peters and this ownership group and this management group and this coaching staff are full of it. They really care about this stuff. And Terry is one of the key members of the Brotherhood. And they are going to take care of him because he's great and because of that. So that ultimately, this is interesting to watch because it is the biggest test we have seen so far of the things they tell us are important. But that's also why I think it's going to get done and that this will ultimately be a very small speed bump in the road and not much else. When we get back, it's our weekend preview. Hey, Anthony, do we have a sponsor for that yet? Find out next.
I don't think so.
Oh, Anthony no. It's still brought to you by nobody, but it's still worth doing. It's so good. And it's coming up next. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Time for our weekend preview, brought to you by
Nobody, Craig.
Well, damn. We'll get back to the NBA Finals and talk a little bit about Game 2 later on in the segment / next. But look at what else is going on this weekend. Anthony, first, any boxing I need to save room for at the end?
Yes, there are some boxing this weekend.
Okay, so we'll get an Anthony boxing minute here. Nationals are at home this weekend. They are, 12 minutes away from first pitch tonight. Wait, is that who I think it is? On the mound? Oh, my goodness. Anthony, tonight, it's the return of Patrick Corbin. I didn't know he was still in the league.
Wow.
He's 3-4 with a 3.71 ERA. He's on the mound at Nats Park. Maybe he'll turn into the pumpkin that he was at the end of his Nats career. And he'll give up 1,000 runs. But the Rangers are in town tonight for a weekend set. Both teams sitting on 29 wins on the year. Rangers 29-34, Nats 29-33. Nationals looking to get another series win. I said earlier they beat the Cubs last night. They lost to the Cubs last night 7-1. But they did get that win over the Cubs in the middle of the series. They had previously had series wins against the Diamondbacks and Mariners. They will play a 3-game set this weekend against the Rangers, and then they are on the road next week at the Mets starting on Tuesday. We will see... Oh, no, we will not see Mackenzie Gore this weekend. He'll start the series against the Mets. All right, elsewhere around the world of sports this weekend, you got the College World Series and the Women's College World Series going on. Women's College World Series. It's a big weekend in Oklahoma, by the way, Anthony, because that's where the Women's College World Series is. So the Texas Tech-Texas game tonight at 8 o'clock. Currently, by the way, there's a story on ESPN.com, the lead story right now on ESPN.com. I kind of want to read this. How drug cartel wars led coach Jerry Glasgow to Texas Tech. I didn't make it up. Why are you looking at me like that?
That just sounds so crazy.
Don't you want to read it?
Yeah.
So do I. Maybe I will after the show.
Good headline.
It sure is. All right, WNBA this weekend. By the way, W News earlier today, Caitlin Clark is going to get reevaluated this weekend, but it doesn't sound like she's close to returning from this quad injury. They're being super cautious with it. So you will not see Clark this weekend for the Indiana Fever. Tonight, got Dream and Sun, Sparks at Wings. Paige Beckers is back after missing 2 games with the concussion. This weekend, Aces Valkyrie ABC game on Saturday. Fever Sky on CBS, although no Clark there. Storm Mercury, a good one, late night Saturday night. These are all Commissioner's Cup games. Sunday, Mystics back to it. They will take on the Sun. Lynx and Wings on Sunday as well. Lynx sitting at 8-0 along with the Liberty atop the W. And then the Mystics' next game after that Sunday tilt isn't until next week, all the way until actually next weekend. They're off the entire week. That's crazy. When the heck do the Mystics play next? I feel like I'm missing a game, Anthony.
Play on Sunday.
Yeah, they play on Sunday. And then are they off for an entire week?
I think so.
Sunday, and then until the next Sunday. So they get a week off. We should have some. We should see if they're. We can get someone on next week. All they're doing is practicing. They should have time. Maybe we'll have Kiki on next week because she won Rookie of the Month. That feels like the right thing to do. Should I start teasing it now?
I think so.
Probably not. So that is coming up on Sunday. Get your Mystics while you can, because then there's no basketball for a week. They're at home against Connecticut, 3 o'clock on Sunday. On the other side of the Anacostia River, you also got women's sports tilt this weekend. NWSL action at Audi Field. Our old friend, my old rookie, Anthony Ashley Sanchez, now with North Carolina Courage. They've found some form recently. They head to Audi Field to take on the Spirit, and This is going to be very, very interesting because we talked earlier in the week about the kind of bizarre story with the Spirit's head coaching situation where their head coach, Jonathan Heraldez, is leaving for France at the end of the month. He's coaching a couple more games. I think he's going to get booed.
Dang.
I think, unless they had some press avail earlier, and I will be honest, and I missed it. And I need to go back and check if there was any further explanation and any further talk about why he's leaving. Because if he comes out and there's a plausible explanation of he wants to go back to Europe for family reasons, or there's he just had a second kid, God forbid there's a health complication, unless there's something like that comes out and it's just yeah, I'm good here, I wonder if he's going to get booed when he gets introduced. Certainly it feels like there will be a heightened sense of something in the stadium as he's out there, and God forbid things go poorly. And unfortunately, this year at Audi Field, things have not gone according to plan for the Spirit. They are just 1-3-1 at home, even though they are 0-5-0 on the road and sit near the top in the top quadrant of the NWSL table. So it is going to be an interesting Sunday at Audi Field. It's a 4:00 kickoff. Should be a lot of fun, out there as always. But I am definitely curious to see what the fan reaction is at Audi Field.
No, that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. So that is Sunday as well. No Formula One this weekend. They are off after the triple header last week, and then back at it next weekend, which leaves us, Anthony, first of all, anything else besides the NBA Finals? Obviously, that is
French Open, man.
Oh, yeah, French Open. Coco Gauff taking on Arena Sabalenka in the women's final. And then you got Jannik Sinner, the world number one, and Carlos Alcaraz, who I think is kind of considered the best player in the world. He's certainly been the best on clay courts the last couple of years. So men's final, women's final, two incredible matchups. I'm definitely excited to watch those the next couple of mornings.
Oh, and the Women's College World Series tonight, 8 p.m.
Yeah, we started there. Remember with the drug cartels?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. We have.
I just saw it on my TV. I'm like, oh, yeah, we can't forget about that either.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So that leaves us to Anthony's Boxing Minute. What do we got? And what happened last week with the dudes that were mad at each other?
So the guy that slapped Jamal Charlo, he lost. Shockingly. He did not look like himself. He is getting older. So maybe that's what it is. Mm-hmm. But I didn't expect him to go out there and lay an egg like he did. And he got his chin tested a couple of times. But, yeah, he lost a split decision. Jamal Charlo won via TKO in the 6th round. But the thing is, he said he still wants his lick back, and he wants that fight to happen. So I think if Charlo and Plant can agree to, some terms, who's going to be A side, who's going to be B side, I think we'll get that fight. I think everybody wants to see it. The fans definitely do. And then this weekend, down in Norfolk, Virginia, we have Keyshawn the Businessman Davis. He was set to defend his WBO lightweight title, but he came in 4 pounds overweight. And he basically said that he outgrew the weight and this is his last fight there. But the fight will go on. The show must go on. And he'll be taking on Edwin De Los Santos Saturday night in the main event. And then their co-feature, Abdullah Mason, upcoming young undefeated boxer. He'll be fighting Jeremiah Nakatila. I think I might have butchered his name.
It's okay. He's a boxer, so he probably won't mind.
I definitely butchered his name, but it's okay. But yeah, they'll be fighting the co-feature tomorrow, 10-round lightweight. And to be honest, Abdullah was going to challenge Keyshawn had, both won their respective fights. But Keyshawn's going to be moving up, so I don't know if we'll get that fight. Maybe it'll happen, down the road. But I'm excited for tomorrow's exciting night of boxing. This can be seen for free on ESPN. Yeah.
Wow, you're going full promo on it. Okay.
I wasn't trying to promo it. It was more so just telling them where they can find the fight.
100%. That's the best promo voice you've ever done, though. It's going to be seen for free tomorrow night on ESPN.
Hey, look.
I'm Anthony
Nothing's
Haney.
better than free 99.
Yeah, I'm Anthony Haney, and I would love for ESPN to hire me. Okay, that's Anthony's Boxing Minute. That's our weekend preview. It's brought to you by nobody, but there's always hope for next week. We'll let you know how everything went on Monday. Last thing that's happening this weekend, Game 2 of the NBA Finals. We'll get you set for it, and Real Things, Real People sending real microphones next here on the Team 980. Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Andy, you got any big plans this weekend?
So I'm going up to Philly tonight for Zaire's flag football event.
Nice. Zaire Franklin, who joined us for about 4 minutes earlier on in the show, the Colts linebacker, checking in after his compadres on the Pacers were able to get game 1 in Oklahoma City. They are up heading into game 2, which is Sunday night at 8 p.m., Anthony. When we get in on Monday, this will probably be our main topic. Are we talking about a 1-1 series? Are we talking about a blowout? Are we talking about what do we think we're getting in game 2?
We're getting a blowout.
You think Oklahoma City's just going to run roughshod over them?
Yeah, I don't. I think the Thunder are furious that they let one get away. They are also 4-0 in after losses this postseason, and you also got to remember Denver won game 1 against the Thunder, and then got their butts whooped in game 2. So I'm thinking it's going to be another butt whooping that the Thunder hands out after an upsetting and frustrating loss.
I love this quote from Jalen Williams from J-Dub. He goes, well, it sucks, but we've been here before.
Yep.
Like you said, against Denver, who is a much more experienced team than Indiana, obviously. They have been here before. Well, we've lost game 1 before. On the other side of that, we came out a better team. That's our goal. That's what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander said. He said, obviously it sucks the last second shot, the energy in the arena, stuff like that, but we lost at the end of the day. We lost game 1. Thunder, as you mentioned, not just 4-0 after losses in this postseason, but they've won the next game by an average of 20.5 points per game. 20.5 points per game. They've only lost consecutive games twice during their 68-win regular season. I don't think we're going to get a blowout, though. I think this Indiana team is wired in a way that they'll know the punch is coming. Like, Carlisle is going to have a way to get that message through. And, I think unlike some other teams, too, let's say Oklahoma City cranks the defense and they force a bunch of turnovers. And, obviously, if they can generate more points off those turnovers and they're up by 30 at halftime, that's a different story, like they did in game 6, 5, whatever the last game was that they had against Minnesota. But game 5. So if they come out and crank the defense and they turn it over a bunch, but Indiana's still within 10, 15 points, what are they going to do? Fold? No, they just did that in game 1. So I don't think we're going to get a massive blowout. I do think Oklahoma City will win. And then we get the pivot of game 3 in the series. And then obviously, game 4 is always the most important one because someone's going to be up 2-1 and then you're either up 3-1 or it's 2-2 and you're down to a best of 3. So game 4 is always the pivot. But if somehow Indiana does come out of this 2-0, then all of a sudden Oklahoma City, again, they've been the best team in the league all year. But you got to beat a team 4 out of 5 in the NBA, period. That's tough. Nevertheless, a team as good as this Indiana Pacers squad. All right. Anything else we got to hit on? Any other housekeeping, Anthony? Anything else to note for Monday's show?
I don't think so.
All right. Let's have our little party at the end. It's time for Real Things, Real People Said in Real Microphones.
We're not going to suck this year. Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
All right. I saved enough time in the show yesterday to do anything, Anthony. So what do we got for today?
We have a lot. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
So we have. I think we should start with the SVP with the Pacers.
Oh, yeah,
yesterday.
this is great. Last night, post-game, Van Pelt hosting SportsCenter on the court in Oklahoma City with Tyrese Halliburton as a guest.
Make a place.
The other night on the show, I put my hand up and I said, look, I was late to the party on it.
Yeah, you're a real one for that.
Well,
I heard that. You're a real one for that.
Well,
a lot of your counterparts won't admit that now.
Well,
so
okay, now I'm going to give myself a little wiggle room here and say you guys are under 500 at Christmas. Am I right?
We were rough.
Okay,
we were rough.
So were you bad at the start?
We were.
So all I said is I was a little late to the party, but I put my hand up.
We were late to the party too.
Okay, well then I'm going to be. I'll be a real one right now. Every single note I had on this card getting ready for this show was about Oklahoma Oklahoma City winning this game, and I'm sitting here with you. It's an amazing show that you all are putting on, and the belief is amazing to watch as well. I appreciate you taking the time. Thanks so much. Tyrese Halliburton.
That's a cool, real moment of television. That was awesome. That's why Scott's Scott. And by the way, that's why Tyrese is Tyrese. But what is he going to do? Get mad at Van Pelt for having a bunch of Thunder notes on the card when, what was the stat I said earlier? It was 182 straight finals games that the team with a 9+ point lead with under 3 minutes to go came out victorious. And then the Pacers happened last night. Congrats to them on game 1. What else we got?
We got Jade and we got Hallie post game.
Oh, Tyrese and his girlfriend? Jade?
No, we got Hallie in the post game where they asked him about when he knew that they could come back.
Oh, you said Jade, which I'm pretty sure is his girlfriend's name. So that's why I got confused.
Oh, I was talking about Jade Melvin.
Oh, we got Jade. That's a different Jade. That's Jade Melvin from the Mystics is not dating Tyrese Halliburton. All right, real quick, Hallie, when did you know that you had a chance to steal this game?
What was the point where you were like, oh, this game is not just competitive, we can steal this game?
It's a good question. When I got off the bus, when I put on my shoes, I mean, there was never a disbelief as a group, honestly. You know, you have a half like that where you're just throwing the ball to the other team, and we like chaos, we like controlled chaos, but that was just chaos, just ugly. But I think we as a group came and said, hey, we got felt like we had 20 turnovers in the first half. We only gave up, I don't remember how many points, I think it was 9. Yeah, that's not that bad, if you think of it that way, try to look at it glass half full. But I think as a group, we never think the game is over, ever. Honestly speaking, ever. That never creeps in.
Easy to do when you keep winning games like this. I will say the Jade Melvin stuff on Stephanie Dolson's message to the team last night post-game. We didn't get a chance to talk about the Mystics game today. It is worth your time. I know we saw it from Bleacher Report Sports, but if you want to check the Mystics post-game presser last night, really good stuff on Steph Dolson's leadership. And Mystics made a huge jump from how they competed with New York a couple of weeks ago. We'll see what they can do Sunday against Connecticut. Then Sunday night, game 2 of the NBA Finals. We'll talk about it all on Monday. Have a great weekend. See you then on the Hoffman Show.